Welcome to the Epilepsy Foundation's videos on epilepsy and cannabis. Cannabis, also known as cannabidiol, CBD, for treating epilepsy has been a topic of interest for a number of years. The Epilepsy Foundation developed this peer-to-peer education for healthcare providers about CBD and epilepsy to provide important factual information and dispel myths and misperceptions about this topic. Recently, a purified pharmaceutical form of CBD was tested like other prescription medications for two forms of severe epilepsy, Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. Both syndromes start in childhood and are associated with very difficult to control seizures, multiple seizure types, and other developmental problems that can progressively worsen. These videos were designed to share what we know, what we don't know about CBD and epilepsy, and includes published data on the first FDA-approved CBD product for treatment of Dravet and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. The participants share their knowledge and experiences about what to consider about CBD in general and tips for counseling people with epilepsy and families. The project was funded in part by Greenwich Biosciences. The Epilepsy Foundation editorial board of Epilepsy.com and staff had complete control on the creation and review of this content.
Hi, I'm Anut Patel, Section Chief of Neurology at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. I'm also the editor for the medical cannabis content on Epilepsy.com. Today we're going to be talking about the differences between FDA-approved products and non-FDA-approved CBD products. And I'm here today with Barry, my colleague.
Hi, I'm Dr. Barry Goodell, University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm a professor of pharmacy and I'm the co-editor of the medication section of Epilepsy.com. What's the difference between an FDA-approved product and a non-FDA-approved product?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between an FDA-approved product and a non-FDA-approved product is what you need to get FDA approval. And there's a lot of rigor and science that has to go in before the FDA will grant you approval. For example, you're going to have to perform studies in a very methodical and scientific way. It's very similar how we've done any study as it relates to medications or treatments for seizures. The other thing that's in there is that there's got to be consistency. So if you are claiming a product has certain chemical compounds in it, that product must have those in it before the FDA will actually let you approve it. That, in some of those areas, are very protective to our patients because then you can have truth in labeling. You're going to know what's in it and what you're taking and how you're getting it is going to be all the same. That's the important part. The other benefit of a FDA-approved product is that means we don't have to carry special licenses to prescribe them. We don't actually have to get certificates from states. You know, when you have an FDA-approved product, it's obtained by or through a pharmacy. So you'll go to the pharmacy or contract with a special pharmacy that can get you access to the medication. So it's all structured and very, very regimented, which is a good thing. Right now, you can get on the internet and get CBD oils. You could go to dispensaries that are available in states. Even in states where this technically is illegal, there are shops that allow you to buy products that claim to have CBD in it. But the important thing to understand between what they're selling and what you're getting from an FDA-approved product is that in the FDA-approved product, there's that consistency I mentioned. With the non-FDA-approved products, there's no law or legal ramifications if that product has nothing or anything close to what they're claiming to have on that label. There is no truth in labeling, there's no consistency, there's no regulation on what's going in there.
Well, I think you're right. And just to back up for a second, I think it's important to recognize that all these regulations that you talk about that apply to every prescription drug that's out there, no matter what type of medicine we get, whether it's a branded medicine or a generic, we want to be assured of the purity and the quality and that there's some regulation or some oversight of how that product is made.
When you have an FDA-approved product, it must be controlled from start to finish. So therefore, the temperature is controlled, the amount of water is controlled, what is in your soil is controlled, where you are growing those plants as far as sun exposure has to be controlled. we know that these dispensaries, they may do a good job in that regard, but they are not taking that level of rigor that's necessary to control all of these things. One of the best examples I like to give in this regard is pesticides. I tend to use pesticides on my, plants to keep the mosquitoes away, et cetera, for my children. Well, when you do that around the cannabis plant, those potential chemicals or compounds could be absorbed within that plant and therefore are being given or ingested to you in your body. The other aspects of this is just nature. And nature is really important as far as microorganisms, mold, for example, and then obviously toxins that are just available or commonplace in our world.
What guidance then do we give clinicians out there, and how should they be giving guidance to their patients?
So I think the best thing to tell parents and tell everybody, even our colleagues, is, I prefer the FDA-approved product for many reasons that we talked about, mostly because of the consistency and the rigor that is necessary and the regulation that has to go under any FDA-approved product.
Well, I think you bring up, an excellent point. I mean, we're with all medicines, all prescription medicines. We're concerned about the continuity of supply. We're concerned that there is, as you mentioned, batch to batch uniformity. That when one month I get a prescription filled, it should be the same as the next month, even if it's different manufacturers. There are certain regulations that have fairly tight standards, and I think that's an important point. That until we have this oversight and the regulations put into place, we can't be assured of that. So, Anoop, with that, I'd like to hand this back to you. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think that it's important that we've gotten a lot of great information with these studies in this purified cannabidiol product. And we know that there's a lot of consistency, and we discussed this at length, and then how important it is to control all those other factors, and that will help us. But what happens now is that means for those patients who have Lennox-Gastaut and Dravet, this Epidiolex product would be a better, in my opinion, compound or product for them if you're considering in this space. But where do we go now, and what do we do for those patients outside of that space? I think we still need to learn a lot more and figure this out. It's an exciting time, but we also have to have an appreciation for those patients that are taking these other, what we consider to be vernacular products that they get from dispensaries, to have an understanding of what's in them, what's potentially not in them, and what potentially it could mean for you as a child or as an adult who has epilepsy. Those are things that further need studied, and we're really hopeful that that's going to occur, and we're on the right track. Thank you for joining us today on this wonderful discussion about the differences between FDA-approved and non-FDA-approved CBD products. I want to thank my colleague, Dr. Barry Goodall, for his wonderful contributions to this discussion. I'm Anoop Patel, Section Chief of Neurology at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, and the editor for the medical cannabis content for epilepsy.com.